It's time for another episode of Let's Talk Business South Carolina, featuring industry outlooks, panel discussions on trending topics, and interviews with business executives, community leaders, and government officials. And now, coming to you from the Drum Creative Studio, here's your host, longtime South Carolina business publisher, Rick Jenkins.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Business South Carolina. This is episode number 36. As always, we're coming to you from the Drum Creative Studios, and I am your host, Rick Jenkins. Today, we're going to be talking about ways you can boost your B2B brand with a successful marketing strategy. One of the tactics we'll be discussing is AI-assisted content. It seems regardless of what industry we're discussing on this show, artificial intelligence always finds its way into the conversation, and today is no different. Scott Brandon, he is the owner and CEO at Brandon, a full-service advertising agency headquartered over in Charleston, will be here to share his insight and provide some advice. However, before we get to Scott, it's time for a segment we occasionally do called An Executive You Should Know. The segment is brought to you, as always, by Greenville Technical College. Greenville Tech offers plenty of corporate and continuing education opportunities for business executives interested in career advancement, and I appreciate that they partner with us on this segment and make it possible for you to meet someone like David Suddeth. David is the executive director at Healthy Me, Healthy SC. Check out this brief interview that I recently had with David, and then we will be right back with Scott Brandon. It's time for one of my favorite segments on Let's Talk Business. It's called An Executive You Should Know. And as always, it is brought to you by our friends over at Greenville Technical College. Greenville Tech now has more than 100 academic programs and a slew of continuing education options for those of you who may be looking to upskill. These guys make it possible for you and me to meet someone like this fella here, David Suddeth. He is the executive director at a cool named company, Healthy Me, Healthy SC. David, welcome.
Thank you, Rick. Glad to be here.
It's good to have you here. Let's start with you for a second. Where are you from?
I'm originally from Greer.
You're from Greer.
I am.
And now you work, where's the corporate office?
Well, I work for the Medical University of South Carolina, headquartered in Charleston, but I do rural health work with Healthy Me, Healthy South Carolina, so I work all over the state.
Got it. Okay. We're going to get back to Healthy Me, Healthy SC in a sec. Let's talk to you, about you for a quick second. You were a Navy veteran.
Correct.
Right? You were a city councilman for Greenville for a dozen years. You worked for Prisma and Bon Secours for, 24, 25 years, something like that, give or take. And now you are still in the healthcare industry. Right. Did you always want to go into healthcare?
I really had a passion for healthcare. I started out as a numbers guy. I'm a finance guy, and there's always a need for good finance people to try to figure out healthcare. And I just moved into different roles throughout the years, but I really enjoy healthcare.
Well, you must. And so, how long have you been doing the Healthy Me deal?
About 4 years.
Okay. So Healthy Me, Healthy SC, I want you to kind of give me that elevator speech, but it kind of exists, correct me if I'm wrong, to help provide more accessible health care in maybe a rural area or an underserved community, something like that. Tell me about it.
Well, first of all, roughly 27% of the people in the state of South Carolina, or about 1.5 million people, live in rural communities. And depending on where you live in South Carolina, healthcare resources are very different and healthcare access is very different. So about 4 years ago, Healthy Me, Healthy South Carolina was formed by the Medical University of South Carolina and Clemson University to really leverage the resources they bring to bear. So it's the state's really only state-supported academic medical center in MUSC, and then Clemson being the state's largest land-grant university, SC State being the other land-grant university. So we really work very closely every day to bring resources to bear on helping those communities.
How is it funded?
It's funded through the state. It's really funded through state health innovation dollars.
Okay, private dollars as well?
No, it's
all public.
It's all public dollars.
Right. And how many employees?
Well, we have a team, a core team of 5, but then we have a lot of programs that fall under the Healthy Me, Healthy South Carolina umbrella, we have 9 programs that fall under our umbrella, and one of the things that really is kind of magical for us is collaboration. So both within Clemson and MUSC, but we have over 80 community partners we work with as well.
Right. Right before we came on the air, you provided me with the annual report for Healthy Me, Healthy SC for last year. This looks like a really nice piece. What are you going to find in here?
Well, first of all, you'll find highlighting all the partners we work with, but probably the most important thing is highlighting the impact that we're making in the state of South Carolina. Everything from addressing food insecurity to addressing outreach on cancer, preventive illness, those sorts of things, which are really important in rural and underserved communities.
Get you out of here on this, David. You are a well-educated man, but you started at Greenville Technical College, who always makes it possible to bring these types of execs and make you guys aware of them. What'd you think of Greenville Tech? Everybody I talk to just absolutely loves their time there.
I'm a huge fan, and I'm really an ambassador for Greenville Technical College. So after I got out of the United States Navy back in 1986, I spent a little over a year at Greenville Tech, and before I transferred to Clemson University to get my bachelor's degree in finance. But Greenville Tech was a lifeline for me, just transitioning from military service into civilian life. And now it's really come full circle for me. I've had the privilege of serving on the Greenville Tech Foundation Board for 5 years and serving the last 2 years as chair. And really it's given me the opportunity to give back to the current students and help raise funding to support their needs.
Right. Good stuff, David. I appreciate you joining.
You're welcome, Rick.
Folks, that's David Suddeth. He is the Executive Director of Healthy Me, Healthy SC, and he is most definitely an executive that you should know. Don't go anywhere. We will be back with the rest of the show, Let's Talk Business, in just a sec. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Let's Talk Business South Carolina. I hope you enjoyed that segment of An Executive You Should Know. We're going to be talking B2B marketing today, and I am joined by Scott Brandon. Scott is the owner and the CEO at Brandon, an aptly named marketing agency, full-service agency that's headquartered over in Charleston, but they got offices a little bit of everywhere, including Bulgaria, which I'm going to ask him about in here in just a second. Welcome to the show, Scott.
Thank you, Rick. Good to be here.
It's good to have you here. So let's start at the beginning with you. Talk about you for a second, then we're going to get into B2B marketing.
Okay.
You were an attorney.
Yes.
For a while.
Yes.
How the heck you go from an attorney to what you're doing?
Well, so it's a good question. I went to school for economics. I went to Davidson College, graduated in 1985. Went to South Carolina, took some accounting courses, and while I was there, decided to go to law school. Graduated from law school, started practicing law, and my dad had an ad agency in Myrtle Beach. He had started it back in 1959. He started it by making postcards. He was a photographer, made scenic postcards, sold those postcards to hotels in the lobby. This is before the internet and before Instagram, right?
Yeah,
when they actually had postcards.
Yeah.
So those hotel owners would see him and say, "Hey, Cecil, can you make me a brochure?" And he'd say, "Sure." And, "Hey, Cecil, can you, make a little ad for me?" And all of a sudden, he was kind of this one-man, self-contained little ad agency.
Right.
And then, this is a little bit longer story than you probably want.
That's quite all right.
But from there, as he grew, say early 60s, Myrtle Beach was a sleepy little summer destination, right? It closed the doors after Labor Day and didn't open back up until Memorial Day. But there were like 7 golf courses in the area. My dad loved to play golf. He played golf in college. And so he kept thinking, well, the golf courses are in great shape in the spring and the fall. They had ryegrass and they're really pretty and green. Hotels were all empty. He said, well, let's start trying to package the golf with the hotels together, and I'll set up a phone system, and you call one number and you book the hotel and the golf in one call. So he created the golf package in Myrtle Beach.
Right.
And that's really what kind of catapulted Myrtle Beach into, what it is today, really. Without golf, it would not be what it is. And so he kind of started Myrtle Beach Golf Holiday, which was a golf destination marketing organization. So the agency had grown a bit, but I always said I would never work for him. We were really close, and I never wanted work to get in between our relationship. We hunt and fish together. It was great. But one day I was sitting there practicing law, and he came to my office. He never, ever came to my office. So I figured something was wrong. Nothing was really wrong, but he had been thinking. He said, I really don't have an exit strategy. I don't have a way to sell this business. Why don't you come work for me? And I was like, no way. So I went home, prayed about it, talked to my wife about it, and we had just had a little baby, and I was just kind of getting started.
What year was this?
This would have been 93.
Okay.
And so, we talked about it, and the more we talked about it, I was really a horrible lawyer, really bad. And I didn't enjoy it.
At least you're honest. Huh?
Yeah,
You're self-aware.
I was a trial lawyer, and there's a lot of stress that comes with that. Not that there's not stress with marketing, but different kind of stress. And I just didn't enjoy it. So I took the plunge and went to work for my dad. There were 6 people that worked there at the time, about $1 million in revenue. And so today I think we're 156 people and about 100 million. So it's,
right.
Just evolution and stuff like that.
Right. And you fast forward now, I guess about 30 years, if I'm doing the math right. And you all have offices. You got one in Charlotte.
Yes.
You got one in Orlando.
Yes.
You're in Charleston and Myrtle Beach. And some way, somehow, Scott, you're in Bulgaria.
Yeah, so that's a funny story. When I first started working for my dad, we did a lot of marketing for hotels, right? And that was kind of the core of our business. And then the internet came along. And, hotel and travel was kind of the first industry that made the jump to the internet really hard, and the consumer changed too and started planning their vacations on the internet, booking online. And we had mostly independent hotels with not big IT budgets and things like that. And they didn't know how to sell their inventory in real time on the internet. So we wrote software to do that. And we started leveraging, offshore talent to help us. Well, long story short, one of the offshore talents came to work for us in the United States. And we wrote this program, what we called a third-party booking engine at the time. His name was Svetlin Rosov. Anyway, Svetlin came to work for us. Great employee. Had 2 children while I was here. And I remember being at a Christmas party, and I can't remember the year, but we were sitting there talking to his wife and him. And he's like, Scott, I'm going back home. I'm going to be gone for a couple of weeks, but I'll see you when I get back. And I remember walking to the office about 3 weeks later and going, where's Svetlin? And they went, you hadn't heard? I went, no. He said, his green card's expired. He's not coming back.
And he went back to Bulgaria.
He did. And he was so valuable, we were like, hey, can you stay? And then he ended up recruiting other Bulgarians to work for us. So we still do quite a bit of website interface work where we're writing specific code to pull inventory systems or ERP systems into like a website. And so, yeah, it's great. And, they're while we're sleeping, they're working, which is, works out really good for us.
That's a great story. Those are 2 great stories. I appreciate you sharing them. But let's talk B2B marketing. And before we get into it, just define it a little bit for me. I mean, of course, it's completely logical, but just talk about that for a second.
Yeah. So, there's B2B marketing, there's B2C marketing. B2C marketing is business to consumer, which is, a brand's marketing to us for us to buy shoes, clothes, things like that. But business to business marketing is businesses marketing to other businesses. Generally, that's software, services like we provide, things like that. So it's business selling to business, really. And which is oftentimes a little more difficult than, business to consumer marketing.
Yeah, of course, right. you got a small business owner, and that small business owner has an extremely small budget.
Yeah.
And they got to.
happens.
Oh, of course it does. It happens all the time. And they can only do what they can do. What do you tell them to do?
Well, I think the most important thing is to understand who your target audience is and to really understand their pain points. One example I would give is my son has a glass business in Myrtle Beach. He does residential and commercial glass replacement and repair. And there's a lot of people, a lot of competitors out there who can fix a window or fix a broken mirror, right? But what he quickly figured out was it wasn't price and it wasn't quality. The problem was speed. When somebody has their front showroom glass broken by a brick or something, they have to secure that business fast and have some temporary, board or something up there. So the way he markets it is, we're available 24/7. We'll come out and repair it. And he pretty much knows everybody's glass size. So he has the boards already cut, pops it in, they might call it 4 a.m, 2 a.m, but that's what he's known for. He fixes the problem, and it's speed, right? Speed is the pain point that the customer has. And that makes him different, that makes him credible, that makes him relevant. And I think those are kind of, that's what makes him different, right? So I think understanding what those pain points are really well and how you can be different, right, not just better.
Right. And so market yourself in that regard.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit, over the last day or so about us sitting down here and having a conversation. And we talked about several different things. And so what I want to do is tee you up. Okay. You have some tips that you would like to provide small business owners with some marketing assistance. Let me tee you up a little, and let's just talk through it, okay? So the first thing is you say, let data drive your decisions and know the right channels to choose.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Well, I think, today we have access to so much more information than we've ever had before. So when I started in this business, we hardly had computers, and that today you can't survive without them, right? So our ability to access data is everywhere. And I like to tell our clients, you really need to know before you go. And you need to be able to access all the data that's available to you, analyze the data to make decisions, right? So a good example of that would be, I have a lot of clients who want to brush in on social media. I want Facebook, I want Instagram, I want TikTok, LinkedIn. So which platform is the best platform? Well, if you're in business, LinkedIn is kind of the king, right? The data says most business people spend their time, on LinkedIn. They're getting educated. They're looking for, leads. They're looking for connections, So that's where you need to be, and you're using data to understand that. And then you're also collecting data as you're posting, as you're putting up information, as you're commenting on other people's, posts. And then, so you're leveraging that data to enhance your brand, right, and amplify it. So I think that's just how do you use data all the way around,
right?
And
tip number 2, which was no surprise to me because it pops up constantly, but that's AI-assisted content. It doesn't matter what industry I'm talking about or who I am talking to. Artificial intelligence always pops up.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's the buzz within our industry, and it's obviously creating a lot of change. It's creating a lot of opportunity. Everybody's scared of it, I think. We are embracing it, I think, because if we don't, we're going to get left in the dust, right? Mm-hmm. But we've been using it for a lot longer than people, I think, realize. Google and Meta both have artificial intelligence engines hooked to their ad managers. So when I run a paid media campaign on social media, on Meta or Facebook, that actual campaign, if you set up the campaign, you identify the target audience, and you want to optimize the campaign to a specific event. So let's just say I want you to buy a bathing suit, right? And you buy the bathing suit. And then I tell the campaign, go find more people who look like Rick. don't go just in general, right? So it starts to learn from itself. And so it's using artificial intelligence to continue to optimize the campaign. I don't have to do anything. It just sits there and gets smarter and smarter and smarter, right? So, we've been leveraging things like that. But now what's really interesting is AI can take these massive amounts of data and analyze it super fast. And then it can, for example, we can do personalized campaigns now in seconds, where it used to take, you really couldn't do it because it was too much information to have to analyze. So I can now deliver based on the way you behave with a specific brand and website. I can give you a personalized website experience. Well, Amazon does it every day, right? You go to Amazon, your homepage looks different than mine. Your Google search results look different than mine, right? So those are all personalized using artificial intelligence to do that for us, right?
Predictive analytics.
No doubt. And I now have a software platform called Neurons where I can load creative into it, and it'll predict how well the creative will actually work before I ever put it out there. So I can actually tweak it up before we actually launch it. It's great. It's a little scary because I don't want to put out of a job, but that's my job, right? Is to be efficient and to make my clients money. So use all the levers that I can, right?
Well, AI, as you said, it brings up so many opportunities, but I think it is scary a little bit, and especially until we get some regulation associated with AI, and I don't know how that will ever happen. But nonetheless, I think we have to figure that out. Let's go the opposite direction and talk about user-generated content.
Yeah. From a business-to-business standpoint, I think a lot of, marketers kind of forget about user-generated content. They think that's more on the consumer side, right? You have paid influencers. Actually, we just bought an agency out in Scottsdale that just does influencer marketing, right? But that's more on the consumer side. But when you think about it from like a business's perspective, we as business people, what are we always looking for? We're looking for credibility, trust, validation, right? When we're making a business decision, like we're buying software, we're buying, we were talking about earlier, lawyers, accountants, who do we pick? So I think what user-generated content does is, and I think sometimes we overcomplicate it. User-generated content can be reviews, it can be testimonials, it can be guest blogs. It doesn't have to be somebody unboxing a piece of software and talking about it. It can be just a simple testimonial. Hey, I really like working with them, So you're just looking for third-party credibility. And I think, and social proof, right, that you're making the right decision. So I think those are kind of the ways I would suggest using, influencers and user-generated content.
And one of the things that we all need to take advantage of, you got a website, you got to have SEO, search engine optimization.
Right.
But sometimes I think that's a little daunting for folks who don't understand how SEO can work.
Yeah. I always talk about, are you easy to find? And especially, small business, they have to be really focused on what we call local search, right? And so that really kind of boils down to really locking in your Google My Business listing and owning it and optimizing it, and everything now is voice search. So riding down the road, go, hey, Siri, what's the closest hotel to me? What's the closest,
Right.
Usually Starbucks, right? Most people are looking for Starbucks. But, optimizing that listing, making sure your site's optimized for mobile. There's lots of things you need to do, but, creating different pages for your specific services, having an individual page for every service you offer, I think is important. That way, the search engine can kind of see exactly what your offer is. So there are lots of different things like that I think you can hone in on. I don't hold myself out as a search engine optimization expert, but we definitely have people on our team that are, right?
And the last thing is account-based marketing, and this is interesting to me. You say more and more that businesses are beginning to hone in on the types of client that they want to meet as opposed to casting a wide net.
Yeah. It of course, I think it's all, again, starts with data and understanding who your target audience is, who's your, profiling who's your best customer, right? Mm-hmm. And instead of sitting there and screaming your name out and taking a shotgun approach, going ahead and identifying, I want to do business with them, and them. And then, have sales and marketing really come together. Because for a long time, they were very, separate. Sales sat over here, rotodialed everybody, and marketing was supposed to be over here building a brand. What marketing needs to do is make it really easy for the sales guy or the sales lady to get that first meeting, right?
Right.
So that's the job. And so we call it account-based marketing. We're going one-on-one to the company. We're trying to figure out who's the decision maker, and we're, putting messages into their LinkedIn. We're putting messages into their Gmail. We're doing direct mail again, which is kind of interesting, right?
Different way.
Nobody does mail anymore. Now we're back to doing it. So trying to pull all the levers we can to get that first meeting, right? Because we want to we want to do business with you. And so, that's been really interesting, and it's been interesting to watch organizational change at the corporate level and watch marketing and sales actually come together and be united and let marketing help sales, where it's always been two different things. I think now we're starting to see them come together.
Right. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
I appreciate you, Scott.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Folks, that is Scott Brandon. He is the owner and the CEO at Brandon. They are a full-service marketing agency headquartered over in Charleston. But even if you are in Bulgaria, you can stop by and ask for some assistance. Thanks for joining us on another episode of Let's Talk Business South Carolina. We'll see you next time.